Hi, I'm Lynn from Knowledgeable Body, and in another video I showed you some standing stretches that you could do after a workout to stretch out your body, throughout your body, but now I'm going to show you a floor routine that is good for hips, low back, and it's just a little easier to do on the floor so there's not as much of a balance component. Let's start with the hip rotators. So you're going to bend both hips and knees and cross one ankle over the other knee. If I let my low back round, I don't feel this very much, but if I walk my palms closer to my low back, roll my shoulders back, and then extend my elbows, straighten them, sort of lifts me forward, and I really do feel it in my right buttocks. So just like the standing stretches we did, you want to hold this for 3 rounds of about 30 seconds or 3 nice deep breaths. Now we're going to go for rotation in the other way. So there's 2 ways to do this. You can either straighten this leg and bring knee to opposite shoulder, which will get more the iliotibial band area and the side of the gluteals. Another option for more of a deep hip inward rotation is to lay down on your back, cross one ankle over the opposite knee again, and sometimes call this the screwdriver stretch because you're going to push down along the line of the thigh bone, sort of seating the ball in the hip socket, and then rotate across. So a little bit different stretch. You could try both and see where you feel you need it. Okay, let's try it on the other side. I'll show you another few variations. So here's the outward rotation stretch with ankle over opposite knee. If this feels like too much to be in this position or you have tailbone pain, it would be better to start on your back, and you could do rotation in all ways, all directions here. So you could cross your knee, cross your ankle over opposite knee. If you're very tight, you could start just by pressing away. If that doesn't feel like much to you, you could grab behind your thigh and pull towards your chest. Sometimes it's called a figure 4 position. And then if you're tight in that iliotibial band, the side of the thigh up to the buttocks, then you could bring that same knee across your body, and there's not one perfect angle. You could play around with a little bit lower angle coming across your pelvis, or a little bit higher knee to opposite shoulder. And just note where you might feel it slightly differently with each one and where you feel like you need it most. I just moved this arm to more of a T position just for a little bit of a counterbalance because I was starting to feel like I was rolling a little further than I wanted to. Okay. If you're recently postpartum, if you know you have a diastasis recti, meaning abdominal midline separation, instead of curling up, it might feel better and be safer to turn onto your side and then push up to sitting or kneeling. For the next one, we're going to work on the low back a little bit. Let's do a cat-cow. Sometimes it's called cat-camel. So you're going to come onto all fours into a tabletop position. You want to make sure that your knees are hip width apart right under your hips, and palms are shoulder width apart and right under your shoulders. Sometimes they end up a little forward. Okay, so once you've got yourself in a true tabletop position, you're going to go ahead and inhale and drop your belly and open your chest, gaze upward. And then exhale, drop your head, pull your belly button to spine, and try to make a nice smooth arc with your back. Big inhale, flow into that valley or U position. For a lot of people, this is easy at the low back, but hard at the mid to upper back. So don't try to force the low back to go further if it doesn't need it. Focus instead on dropping your chest, trying to extend a little bit between that shoulder blade and bra line area, even if you don't go as far. Big exhale, go into that cat back or hilltop position or rainbow, whatever makes you think of that nice, smooth, even spine. This one tends to be easier in the upper back, but harder in the low back. So if this area feels really tight or flat, you want to pretend like you have a dog tail and really think about tucking your tailbone and making space here instead of just focusing on rounding more in the upper back where you might already be a little rounded. And from here, we're going to wag our tails a little bit. So go ahead and wag your tail to one side, wag it to the other, pausing for a deep breath. Really feel how that opens up your side body. And then let's do a wide leg child's pose. It's going to widen your knees, sit back onto your tailbone, and then crawl your fingers forward. If that gives you some pinching in the front of the hips here in the groin area, option to do it in a more elevated position, so you could pretend like you're rounding over a beach ball. This oftentimes feels really good in the low back. Stay a little bit more lifted, and either remain here, or if this feels like too much energy to hold the position, you could come down onto forearms instead. Sometimes this is called a rock back instead of child's pose. And then option to add a side bend, so I'm going to extend my arms and crawl both hands to one side of the mat. I'm going to my left, so I'm going to anchor that right butt towards my right heel and then try to crawl my right fingertips a little further. A few deep breaths here, really opening through my right side body. Okay. Crawling my hands back to center and then off to my right. Now my left butt is anchoring towards my left heel. Left fingers are crawling a little further than my right. A few deep breaths here, really opening the left side body. Okay, come back to tabletop and transition onto low back. Onto my back. So a few options here. One is to hold onto your thighs, tuck your tailbone and roll yourself down. But again, if you're very newly postpartum, have had a C-section, or been diagnosed or suspect diastasis recti, which is an abdominal midline separation, you oftentimes see what's sometimes called a little bit of a bread loafing or doming when the abs are stressed. It would be safer to come on your side in sort of a mermaid position and then walk down onto your side and then roll onto your back. Okay, so you could do legs extended or knees bent, knees knocked together. Your arms are going to come to a T. Try to let your low back melt into the surface. And just keep a couple, stay here and hold the position for a couple deep breaths. I want you to imagine 4 circles inside you. One around your chest, one around your low rib cage, one around your belly button, and one in your pelvic floor between your sits bones. And right here at the base of your pelvis. As you inhale, picture those 4 circles expanding in all directions. And as you exhale, feel them all shrink inward. Inhale, feel them expand like a balloon is growing bigger inside you all the way down into your pelvic floor. Widening, expanding, and then everything gradually, gently collapses inwards as the air whooshes out of you. Okay, from here you could also try a cactus arm position, get a little different type of stretch. And you could also add a little gentle rotation if your back is tight, but if this hurts hurts at all, or you feel like you can't control it and your back is getting very arched as you do it, then I wouldn't add the rotation yet. Okay? Feel free to stay on your back and close your eyes if you want for a few minutes, just to feel the changes you've made in your body and appreciate yourself for taking care of yourself today and taking this time for you and to keep your body healthy.